Good morning. Welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Friday, September 24th, 2010. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S., 4:30 p.m. in London, 12:30 in Hamilton and Mexico City. It's 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. We have just had confirmation that CATEX executives from the U.S. will be in London on Monday, November 1st through Thursday, the 4th of November. There will be an open house demonstrating the CATEX Bordereau/Program Management System at the CATEX offices next to Lloyd's on Tuesday, November the 2nd. So we'll be bringing more information to you on that, and we will be having the broadcast from London that week, and we'll be interviewing some London personalities for that week's television events. The stock market in Brazil is heading to its biggest weekly gain in 3 months over the sale of the government's stake in Petrobras. We'll go to our main news. The Insurance Insider broke this, and then we've seen it picked up in some of the stock wires. The chairman of Jardine Lloyd Thompson's London arm, Andrew Agnew, has resigned unexpectedly with immediate effect. The company announced this morning. Agnew stepped down from JLT's Group Executive Committee, as well as from his role as chairman of JLT Limited. The resignation is with immediate effect. JLT said that Martin Hiller, CEO of Jardine Lloyd Thompson Limited, has assumed the role of chairman of that company pro tem. We'll see if we can find out about that next week. Well, we spotted this first, and Christopher Monroe and Insurance Diaz, to his credit, spotted it today. Insured losses arising from any cancellation of the Commonwealth Games in India would exceed $200 million. The bulk of it, however, would be retained by the domestic Indian market. As we noted on Tuesday, pressure has been mounting on the Indian government as concerned about security and inadequate facilities at the Commonwealth Games have grown. In the past week, athletes have withdrawn amid fears about the completion of accommodations, leading to speculation that the event might be canceled. Organizers insist that the event will not be canceled and that the facilities will be in excellent condition. The Games open on October 3rd. Chris Ratcliffe, a contingency underwriter at Beasley and Lloyd, said the majority of cover for the Games will have been placed in the local market. He said, quote, "We've seen lots of different interests in the Commonwealth Games, but India is a particularly difficult area for us to do business in, and the local market would be the one having the interest. If there was insurance purchase, that it'd be retained in India." Ratcliffe said, though, the cancellation of the Games could cost insurers in excess of $200 million. He said the committee organizing the Games would have signed contracts with TV network, sponsors, and advertisers, and that this money would in turn have to have been put toward running the event. But should the event be canceled, these companies would of course want their money back. The other thing Ratcliffe did say is one of the reasons that little coverage had been placed in Lloyd's for the Games is because the risks did not come to market until fairly recently. Usually, he said, these types of risks are presented 2 or 3 years before the event, but in this instance they came in much later. He said the various interests we saw were coming very late. The sort of information we needed just wasn't provided, and we didn't have enough time to get it, especially the security around the athletes. We were very nervous about providing any meaningful capacity. Let us hope that they get their act in order in New Delhi and there will not be a cancellation. Well, in the United States this morning, the government released some figures. It's got the stock market up about 180 points right now. New orders for long-lasting U.S. manufactured goods, so-called durable goods, such as these washing machines and dryers purchased here, excluding transportation, rose in August. Business spending rebounded strongly. Both statistics point to an improvement in the economy. Orders excluding transportation rose 2%. They had fallen by almost 3% in July. This was the largest increase since March, and they beat market expectations of only a 1% gain. However, overall orders, not just durable goods, but overall orders dropped 1.3%. This is the biggest decline in a year after a 0.7% increase in July. Tom Simons, money market economist at Jefferies and Company, said, quote, "Overall, I think it's a much stronger number than the headline suggests. The durable goods report was weak last month, but I think this definitely shows underlying improvement." Well, let's pull up this picture. He's appropriately known as the Sage of Omaha. When you're the richest man in the United States, if not the world, you can have this moniker. He does not think that the U.S. economy is out of its recession. He's disputing this week's assessment by a leading government group that in fact monitors whether the country is in a recession, the so-called National Bureau of Economic Research, which on Monday announced that the recession had ended last year. Buffett says we're still in a recession. We're not going to be out of it for a while, but we will get out. He said this on CNBC yesterday. Buffett said he defines a recession differently from the government. He says it ends when real per capita gross domestic product returns to its pre-downturn level. It's a pretty good standard to use. The 80-year-old Buffett runs Berkshire Hathaway, which has about 80 operating businesses. He says a great majority of these businesses are coming back slowly. Since his operations cover a broad spectrum of the economy, including the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, Dairy Queen ice cream, Geico auto insurance, and luxury jewelers such as Borsheim's, not to mention Fruit of the Loom underwear, let's not forget them. He has pretty good information tentacles in all sources of the economy. He says that shipments at Burlington Northern Railroads are 61% of the way back. Our carpet businesses, our brick business, our insulation business, they're not 61% back, but they are coming back. He said the government, with its stimulus measures, has done about as much as it can. He said, quote, "We've used up a lot of bullets, and we talk about a new stimulus, but the truth is we're running a federal deficit that's about 9% of GDP. That is as stimulative as all get out." Well, the Insurance Day has a big front page story, big news bulletin. Lloyd's has discovered that claims are important. They've launched a program to recruit and train 50 claims professionals during the next 5 years, 50 in the next 5 years. The head of claims at the Lime Street Market, Kent Chaplin, said that the program will promote claims as a recognized path of progression at Lloyd's. He said this has been set up in direct response to concerns from managing agents that they're facing a skills shortage in the claims area. Lloyd said the program will consist of a 12-month rolling intake combining formal training and practical placement with ongoing exams. Mr. Chaplin said that the program will promote claims as a recognized profession in the market and will develop future talent in a field of insurance that's essential to our competitive success. It's an interesting point when he talks about it being a career progressive path. I doubt there are too many people running agencies, brokerages, or insurance companies that started in the claims department. Stock market in New York is up about 180. We'll go to a word from our sponsors. You may recall that the Deepwater Horizon oil rig that blew up in the Gulf of Mexico, leading to that big spill, was partially owned by Japan's Mitsui & Company. Mitsui continues to withhold payments to British Petroleum. Insurers from Mitsui thus remain in the dark as to whether they'll have to pay out on any claims relating to the incident. They can't figure it out because if Mitsui hasn't made any payments yet, how can they possibly submit a claim? Mitsui owns a 69.9% interest in Mitsui Oil Exploration Company. That entity, in turn, holds a 10% non-operating lease interest in the Macondo well that the Deepwater Horizon was drilling. The other two parties in the well, BP and Anadarko, hold 65% and 25% stakes. With all the investigations and lawsuits swirling around the oil spill, Mitsui has decided to undertake its own independent review of BP's claims for reimbursement. So as a result, Mitsui therefore continues to withhold payment of invoices to BP. BP has been sending Mitsui invoices seeking reimbursements of costs incurred by BP. BP only does own 65% of it. It's unknown whether Anadarko is paying. In a statement made yesterday, Mitsui reiterated that it is still too early to estimate its potential liability in the exposure to the Deepwater Horizon incident. They soon may have no choice. I suspect that a court is going to make that determination for them. Well, yesterday Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was in the UN and he really went off. He ended up saying that most nations believe that the American government was behind the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. He said that, quote, some segments within the American government orchestrated that attack to reverse the declining American economy. I don't think I think if anything it made the economy worse, and its grips on the Middle East in order to save the Zionist regime. Of course, he's talking about Israel. He then said that the majority of the American people, as well as most nations and politicians around the world, agree with this view. At this point, the American and UK delegations got up and left. They walked out. Today, Nick Clegg, Deputy Prime Minister for the UK, has apparently already modified his speech, and he's going to pointedly make some comments about Mr. Ahmadinejad's speech. Well, yesterday, Facebook, the social networking site, was down for about 2.5 hours. That was pretty unusual. It was the worst shortage they'd seen in their 4-year operational history. Worst outage, I should say. According to their chief technology person, the key flaw that caused this outage was an unfortunate handling of an error condition. Let's follow this. This is actually interesting. Facebook has an automated system that checks for invalid configuration values throughout its site. If that system finds an error, it goes ahead and replaces the error with an updated value from its storage area. This works well for some problems, but it doesn't work when the storage area submitting information has invalid errors itself. Unfortunately, Facebook made a change to its storage area on Thursday morning that ended up with invalid information in it. So as a result, the automated system checking for errors would replace those errors with values from the storage area that were also errors. So because the fix involved making a query to a cluster of databases, that cluster was quickly overwhelmed by hundreds of thousands of queries coming in both directions, both sets of which were erroneous.